Yo, what's up, boys and girls? Boys Swolelax here, and I'm back at it again in the video. This time, something a little bit different. Today, I've got an extra special deck profile for you today. Over the course of about a month and a few weeks, I have placed together my first non-hashtag budget boys build of an elemental hero slash mass hero deck. This thing is sick. It is super fun. As y'all know, I'm a huge hero fanboy. So, of course, I put a lot of love and a lot of passion, a lot of thought into this deck as well as how to build it. I feel like this deck is pretty unique. I don't see a lot of people running this specific build slash kind of variants of this specific build. So, I like it a lot. And, of course, I have also some suggestions how to improve this deck later on with some new cards that may be coming out. But we'll get into that in a little bit later. But for now, let's just go ahead and get a deck profile. First thing first, you're going to start off with 3 copies of Elemental Hero Shadow Mist. This card is a staple 3 of any modern hero deck. It allows you to do a lot of searching. You can, if it's special summon on the field, you can get a mass change to your hand, which is pretty integral, effectively making this card Dark Claw. And, or, if it's sent to the graveyard, then you can search any hero monster besides Shadow Mist and add it to your hand, which is pretty great. So not only can you send this card to the graveyard straight out and get some search for it, you can also special summon this card out onto the field and get a mass change to extend combos and to get the big bad Dark Claw out on the field. So 3 of these are a must. And next, we got 3 copies of Vision Hero Vion. Vision Hero Vion is actually super sick, surprisingly so. So it being a dark type, of course, it can also be mass changed into Dark Claw, which is a plus. But when it's normal summoned or special summoned onto the field, you can send one hero monster from your deck to your graveyard, which is super good for something like Shadow Mist, which you can search, but even more importantly, something like Destiny Hero Malicious, which also gets like a bunch of combos off and a bunch of link plays itself. In addition to that, its secondary effect, which you will be utilizing inside this deck, it allows you to get a polymerization from your deck to your hand by banishing a hero monster from your graveyard, which is super good. This card is actually a pretty nice sleeper inside the deck, and you're going to be seeing it a lot. You need this card for sure, so 3 of those. And next, we have 3 copies of Destiny Hero Malicious. Now, I'm actually not a huge fan of the Destiny Heroes in general, but Destiny Hero Malicious is a slight sleeper inside this deck. Granted, when you draw this card, you're not going to be normal summoning, you're not going to be doing whatever. The main effect is that when it's sent to the graveyard, or if it's in the graveyard, you can banish one copy of it from your graveyard and special summon another out from your deck. And then banish that same one for if used as link material, as fusion material, as what have you, and summon out another one. So it's actually a bunch of really nice combos, the one I like to call the wham, bam, thank you, man. You send this card to the graveyard, banish it, special summon this out, use it as link material, fusion material, whatever, banish it again, special summon out another thing. And it's dark as well, so you can also use it for Dark Claw. Now, the main thing that's kind of weird with this is that you don't want to see it in your opening hand. You don't necessarily want to draw into it, but it's not the end of the world if you do so. And it's kind of funny, too, because you think, oh, I can probably just bring it down to 2, but having 3 copies of this for that special summon effect is actually really important. So running 3 of those is essential. And next, we got 2 copies of Elemental Hero Bubble Man. So this deck does use a Bubble Man as fusion material and also as special summon material. If it's its only card inside your hand, you can special summon it onto the field, which is super nice. You can set a bunch of cards and special all your monsters, which is great. Access to your rank 4 plays, which is good. And in addition to that, if this is the only card you control, period, you can draw 2 cards, which is kind of nice. But you won't be resolving that effect too often, to be honest, but I am running 2 of those. Too many of those is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a good ratio. And next, we got 2 copies of Elemental Hero Honest Neos. So Neos is kind of weird. This card is way too expensive for what it is, but it's not bad. It's a hero hand trap, allowing you to discard it from your hand, and then give a hero monster you control 2,500 attack points, 2.5 stacks of power. That's actually incredibly powerful. And the funny thing is, too, is that I never thought this card was essential in heroes, but because heroes don't necessarily have the best offensive capability, Elemental Hero Honest Neos is pretty good. And you can use it as fusion material. You can also special summon it with Monster Reborn if you like, or stuff like that. So there is applications for it, and I'm running 2 because I think it's pretty good. Next, we're running 2 copies of Go Blindberg. I will say one thing about this card real quick before we start. This card will immediately be replaced with Elemental Hero Solid Man. Elemental Hero Solid Man was confirmed for the OCG at least, which allows you to special summon it. If you normal summon this card, you can special summon out a level 4 or lower monster from your hand. That's what Go Blindberg does, and essentially Solid Man does the same effect. But Solid Man can be searched with Emergency Call, which this card cannot. Though this card can be searched with the new Link monster and with Rhoda, you want to see this card a lot because it does extend your combos. You can special summon out things like Shadow Mist from your hand to get the mass change, blah, blah, blah. Instant access to your rank 4 engine, essentially. But the big drawback is you can't search this card well enough, I don't think. But it's still good enough to where you are running 2 of it, and it's still a nice special summoner and nice combo extender. So 2 of those. And that's going to be it for the monsters. You're actually running quite a bit of them, but now we're going to go on to the spell cards. We got 3 copies of Mass Change, another staple inside the hero deck. This thing allows you to go inside your mass heroes, so either with Acid or Dark Law, primarily Dark Law, because it's super nuts. It's a quick play spell, so you can set it, and then boom, surprise on your opponent's turn. So that's pretty nice. 3 of those for sure, and it is easily searchable with Elemental or Shadow Mist. And next we have 3 copies of Emergency Call. Emergency Call is a staple 3 of in any hero deck because they do revolve around the elemental heroes. And essentially when you see one of these cards inside your hand, it's a free hero every time. Like I said, Elemental or Solid Man is searched with this card, but Blindberg is not. So with this card, you're really only able to search Honest Neos, Shadow Mist, and Bubble Man. But those combo cards are actually still super good, and having them in your hand is pretty great. So 3 copies of Emergency Call. Next, we're going to go on to some cards I like to call the comeback cards, so to speak. And that's going to be 2 copies of Hero Lives and 2 copies of Miracle Fusion. So Hero Lives is actually pretty nuts. If you open this card, it's actually still really good. You pay half your life points, and you can special summon 1 elemental hero monster from your deck. So effectively, it's going to be Shadow Mist, and this card, it becomes a 1-card Dark Law, giving you that mass change to your hand and swapping it out for that. And I'm only running 2 of them because I feel like having your life points that much is a little extreme, but it's still a really good card and powerful enough that you should run at least 2. And same thing with Miracle Fusion. Miracle Fusion is actually really good for this deck because you are setting up your graveyard quite a bit with something like Vion, or also discarding cards, stuff like Twin Twisters and blah, blah, blah. And Miracle Fusion allows you to special summon out an elemental hero monster from your extra deck by banishing materials from your field and or graveyard. And that's actually super important, especially for coming back, all your monsters in the graveyard, banish them out, summon out a big buff bounce monster, and there you go. Miracle Fusion is actually pretty nice, and I like it a lot. So that's going to be that. Next on to some generics, we got 2 copies of Twin Twisters for back removal. Back removal is coming back in style, and this can also help you get Destiny Hero Malicious inside your graveyard, which is nice. And we got 1 copy of Polymerization to search with Vion, and it's also the OG artwork, by the way, which I'm a huge fan of. It's nice. 1 copy of Rota to search out literally everything inside your entire deck. And 1 copy of Monster Reborn, because this card's nuts. And finally, a Swolelax first. 1 copy of Raigeki. Ain't that sick? Like, okay, so I know right here would be the point where I'm like, it's a hashtag Budget Boys Raigeki, but we actually got one because, and I'm going to be honest, this is going to sound kind of stupid, but you'd rather have your monsters on the field. I mean, Dark Hole is not bad, don't get me wrong, but I think if you're running a budget version of this, you can't necessarily spend the 20 bucks on Raigeki, then Lightning Vortex is a better alternative, frankly. Despite card economy not necessarily being there, you want to keep your monsters on the board, your material, your Dark Law, whatever, on the field as much as possible. So Raigeki is almost something you can't slip up on. And look at the Seeker, it's super nice. But that's super sick. So yeah, congratulations to me on the first Raigeki. Ain't that sick? And next we're going to go on to the trap cards of the deck. That rounds out the spell cards. We actually have quite a bit of trap cards running this deck as some protection because this deck does have a certain Protect the Castle build to it. We're running 3 copies of Bottomless Trap Hole and 2 copies of Floodgate Trap Hole. I will say this is a 41 card deck, so you could cut a Bottomless Trap Hole if you'd like, but I haven't had any problems with the consistency or ratio so far, so there's that. In addition to that, we're running so many of these because this deck does lack certain amounts of protection, and because we are running a Trap Tricks inside of our extra deck, so we can use these from our deck if we need to. So that's really nice. Next, we got 2 copies of Storming Mirror Force. You guys know I like Storming Mirror Force a lot. You could up this to 3 if you want to get rid of one of the trap holes if you'd like. In certain duels that I played, then I found that this card is actually really nice and really surprising because not a lot of people are expecting it. So that's super sick. And then finally, we got 2 copies of Solemn Strike and 1 copy of Solemn Warning as our Solemn Brigade. And that's some nice protection there as well. And that's going to be it for the main deck. We're going to go ahead and go on to the extra deck. The extra deck is something that's a little bit special. It's a full, beefy, 15-card extra deck, and it's super nice. I got some things to say about it. So we got 2 copies of the 2 Tails of the Noble Knights. It's the new Warrior Link monster. What she allows you to do is when she's linked someone on the field, she can add a warrior monster from your deck to your hand, and that's any of them. Unfortunately, and the big drawback to that, is you can't activate their effects, and you can't summon them that turn, but more than likely you're using this card as a combo extender to get fusion material to your hand, or you're just getting it to set up and stack your hand for next turn. I already had a video where I go into detail on why this card is super good for heroes and better than the upcoming Link hero monster. But, you know, we'll get into that a little bit later. This card is super sick. I recommend running 2 of them because running 1 is just sometimes not enough. Next, onto your rank 4 engine. It's kind of those generic rank 4s, but you got 1 copy of Baguska, that's terribly tired to pair. 1 copy of Abyss Dweller. This card's actually super good at stuff like Paleozoics. Anything that happens inside the graveyard, it's super good. 1 copy of Traptrix Rafflesia as the waifu bay, and also look at this card art. It's actually super sick and beautiful. But essentially all these cards are your defensive rank 4s. Traptrix obviously lets you use your Bottomless Trap Hole and Floodgate Trap Hole from your deck. Baguska for a little bit of stall, and Abyss Dweller for hindering their graveyard powers, so anything like Burning Abyss, blah, blah, blah. And that's going to be these 3 right here for more your defensive options. Now for your offensive options, you get Utopia, Utopia Prime, and Utopia Der Blitz. This card's actually super sick, so the reason I'm running 3 of them right here instead of just running the normal Utopia the Lightning is because when you summon Utopia Der Blitz, essentially what happens is that whenever you're able to discard or detach 2 XYZ material and make it 5,000 attack, your opponent cannot activate any card effects until the end of the damage step, which is super sick. But normally when you summon this, you have Utopia the Lightning, or Utopia, and 2 other rank 4 monsters and Utopia Der Blitz, so you can only do that effect once. I like to do it where you have the 2 level 4 monsters, you go for Utopia, overlay Utopia Prime, and then you overlay for Der Blitz, so now you have 4 materials, and you can do that effect twice, effectively giving this a little bit of extending play. Now, if you don't want to run that, and you don't necessarily want to do Utopia Prime, any other generic rank 4 monster will do. And next, on to the one you've all been waiting for, the Fusions. And I'm going to sort this out real quick. Cool. 1 copy of Elemental Hero, The Shining. The Shining can be used as some link material. The Shining can be used to extend your combos a little bit with fusing your other monsters, and the player about to go into a little bit later. Also, when this card is special summoned, it gains 300 attack for all banished hero monsters, so that's actually super sick, especially with something like Miracle Fusion. And yeah, that's pretty much it. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard as well, you can get those 2 Elemental Hero monsters from your banished pile into your hand. So the Shining's sick, and it's also a super powerful monster. It's a pretty nice beater and some great artwork. Next, we're running 2 copies of Elemental Hero Absolute Zero. This dude is a Raigeki on legs with 2,500 attack and 2,000 defense. Very respectable attack and defense. Essentially, when this card leaves the field at all, banished, sent to the graveyard, then back to your decks and back to your hand, blah, 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 you Raigeki their entire board, and it's super sick. There's a lot of good plays you can do this. You can mass change this thing out. You can fuse it. You can use this link material and destroy your entire opponent's board. I like it a lot. It's also very powerful and a very nice defensive option as well. So I'm running 2 of those. Next, I'm running 2 copies of Mass Hero Acid. This dude is a Harpy's Feather Duster on legs, allowing you to win a special summon to destroy all spells and trap cards your opponent controls. So there's a nice combo you can do where you mass change Elemental Hero Absolute Zero to go into Shadow Mist, to go into Acid, and then destroy and wipe their whole board. So that is super good. I'm running 2 copies of that. And finally, the card we've all been waiting for, and the obvious run in this deck, that's Masked Hero Darklaw. This card is absolutely insane. He's a Macrocosmos on legs, 2,400 attack, 1,800 defense. This dude is a beefy, beefy boy. Now, his passive effect is that all cards that your opponent would go to the graveyard are then banished instead. This also can prohibit certain plays, like let's say you have Solean Overraptor, which specifically states send a card to the graveyard. Well, it can't do that because Darklaw prevents it because it's all banished instead. So that's super good. It doesn't necessarily negate hand traps, of course, because they say discard and not send to the graveyard, but you get my point. Now, the one big thing about this card is it has a secondary effect, which is that if your opponent adds a card from their deck to your hand, from their deck to their hand, then you can banish 1 card at random. Now, that is a little bit of a gamble just because they can Solemn Strike that effect and they can Ghost over that effect. So that kind of sucks, and you really want to see this card as often as possible and as long as possible just to maximize its potential. It's a very powerful card in the hero deck, and I'm running 2 of those. So that's going to be it for the deck profile, guys. Let me know what you guys think of it. I am a really huge hero fanboy, of course, so there's a lot of passion, a lot of love put into this deck, and I like it a lot, and I hope you guys do too. I think this deck's actually super sick. I will say, if you guys want to run a side deck out some hand traps, some more defensive options if you want to, if you're finding that you're kind of being slowed down or not being able to get your combos off. That's just really about it. So, yeah, that's it. It's sick. Let me know what you guys think of this. If you guys have any suggestions for it, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But, yeah, that's all I got to say. Peace out.